Hello again, and welcome back to Woodhill Park, my layout in the loft. I haven't been up to a great deal lately, as you will know. I've been taking a rest after doing the coal mine, and it's been my birthday, and thank you very much for all the well wishes over my birthday. A lot of you said happy birthday, and I appreciate that. I did enjoy myself in London, as you see in one of my posts, and I had a great day. The weather was great, and sometimes I'm lucky on my birthday. And I went up a building in London called Horizon 22, and you could see across the whole of London, and it was absolutely wonderful. And that and other things on the day really made it a great birthday. So thanks again for all your birthday wishes. But I'm back now, and I've been fiddling about, and they're just experimental projects I've been working on, actually. Nothing that much, but hopefully you find it of interest. I've been having a small experiment with signalling. It's one of the things that I've been putting off for a long time, but I thought I would just dabble in it by putting a 3-aspect signal in front of the tunnel here. And I wanted to experiment with these DCC controlled signals, and specifically from Train Tech in this case. Absolute aspects seem quite dear, mind you. Even Train Tech is not cheap. This is like £50 time you add postage on. I might look around in future, see if I could get them a bit cheaper. But yeah, certainly going to add up if I start putting signals all over my layout at the moment. But I just thought I'd try one out, just see what it's like. And I've been preparing the ground. If I zoom in, rather badly, but yeah, if I zoom in, I've been preparing the ground for it. I put a little sort of foam board, sort of plinth, so it looks a bit like concrete. But I'm just going to sit the signal on. Now I haven't added the detail into it yet, but I have cut the little slivers of the board what go underneath the rails, should you want to poke them under the rails. But I don't. I want a more reliable wired method to the buzz wires underneath, so I should be wiring on these. The little sensors here, so I've just got to be careful of that, and this should sense a train passing and alter the signal accordingly. And I'm going to have to set it up and whatever. So now I've got pretty much the position where I want it after cleaning some of the ballast away. I'm going to drill a couple of holes for the wires that I'm about to solder. So I'm going to go and solder some wires on. So I know where to drill the holes for the wires. I put in a couple of headless pins through the holes that I'm going to solder the wire onto the board of the signal, and these pins will be left behind when I pull the signal up out of the way, and then I can pull each one out in turn, drilling a hole where the pin is, and it'll be perfectly aligned up, so the wire will go straight down through the board. That's a very good start. I think I got it in reverse, so it undid the jaws on the drill, but never mind, I can still see where the pin went. Just getting it started though. One done. Get this pin out. Two done. this time without the drill bit falling out the drill. I've just tinned the wires. Now I'm going to solder them onto the boards here. I think I'll put it in the middle of the solder reel. Might be a good place to put it. And then solder them from the bottom, because I want the wires to go out from the bottom, so they're not seen on the top. I may be in the way, in which case I'm a bit sorry about that. Right, one done. The other one done. Right. Let's see what I soldered in. Turn it up the right way. And snip the wires, the top off level, so you can't see wires sticking up, and then I can cover that with some undergrowth or whatever. Put the wires through the baseboard now. I think the worst bit about this signal at the moment is the detailing. The detailing kit is quite hard to cut off the sprue, as the struts that hold it are quite hard to cut through, but you do it very carefully with a scalpel. And I got the ladder out right, and I started cutting the other sort of safety sort of metal work that goes around the top of the ladder to hold the guy from falling off, and one of the sort of loops split in half, and very little force just cutting it out, and it just split in half, and one of the legs dropped off of one of the side barriers, so I've had to glue all these in separately as I did it, and I've ended up with more glue than I would like, because I don't trust it. I think it's very, very flimsy. It's a shame it couldn't have been sort of made of a bit more flexible material. It's very hard and very brittle, and I've got a nice lot of blooming going on here because I did use quite a lot of glue, which is a shame, but hopefully I can rub this off and the weathering will cover it all. Yeah, not very happy with that. Should have been a lot easier and sort of less sort of chance of breaking it as you were trying to cut it away from the sprue. And it's only going to get more and more brittle with time, so I'm going to have to be very careful not to knock it. And that's before I've even plugged it in to see it works, so let's hope it works. Fingers crossed, because I don't suppose they would accept it back now. That is the problem with some of these things. Anyway, I've carried on and I've weathered the signal with weathering powders, and this has covered up some of the blooming and some of the sort of bodgy glue marks that I had to do to put this thing together, and I won't have to weather it later. I may just put a little bit of sort of dry brushing over the pillar later on, but other than that I think it looks like it's been sitting there for a while. Might just put a little bit of white staining from the top, like you get sometimes with like watermarks. Not much, but yeah, it's ready to go on the layout now. Right, that seems to sit there pretty well now, and I'm going to have to lift it up again anyway when I have to program this thing, so I'll connect it up and then I'll have to lift it up and there's a couple of pads on the left hand side of the base that I have to short out to program it on DCC. So I'm going to connect it up underneath. Right, I'm going to switch my DCC system on and let's hope something happens. I got a green light. Does that mean it's okay? Right, that's something. Now I better look at the programming of it. I've just sorted out the pads which are on the left hand side, and it's now in a learning mode, and this will allow me to program it with my handset so I can override at any time and set the signal to whatever I want. Otherwise it just reacts on the movement of the train going past with the infrared sensor, which is on the right hand side. Doing some weird things. That's all over the shop, and I thought it was something to do with the sensitivity of the light, but it's nothing to do with that at all. So it's maybe mixed signals it's getting from the DCC. Got it to go on green now. There we go, before it changes its mind. Continually flashing as the coaches go past between green and red. Maybe it's something to do with the sensor where it's situated. Now I'm back up in the loft. I haven't been up here for a few days, and the signal is working fine now. It's doing everything it should do. And as the train passes in a minute, you'll see what I mean. It turns to red, and it remains red all the time while the train is passing, as you would expect. And as soon as it's passed, it carries on being red for quite a while. Then it goes to amber, and then back to green. Everything you expect. The only thing I can think of why now it's working is possibly because of the wet copy decks that was around the sensor and the board that I cut, but I didn't want to go underneath the rails. So maybe the wet copy decks was confusing it. I can't think of anything else, because the light situation is the same and everything is the same. So there could have been a bleed across the wet copy decks, giving it a slight short, what will be confusing the processor in the signal maybe. But yeah, it's working fine now. It's crazy, but yeah, I'm very pleased with it. May consider buying maybe one or two more now. Other things I've been up to is having a look at my HAA wagons again, and starting to sort of retrofit some limb pockets underneath the 3D printed ones that I like using. So you have to cut away into a little bit of the bogie and glue these in place, trying to get the height right as well. And so I've done the odd one, but I've got so many to do, it's just repetition, and I just can't be bothered to do it in the moment. But it's something that I successfully have done on a couple of wagons, so when I get to the patience I'll sit and do all of them. But it just means getting a razor saw out and cutting these bogies around and gluing them in place, which just takes time really. I have bought 3 more since my first installation, including the one in front of you, and that did mount up to £140, which I could have bought a loco with, but what's the point of loads of locos if the infrastructure doesn't sort of do them justice? So I bit the bullet and I bought a few, but yeah, it's going to be one every so often, I think. But I do quite like these signals from Train Tech, as they pretty much do all the work, and it's only a couple of wires that's connected to your DCC bus wire, and this allows you to focus on the rest of the layout while signals are doing their own thing really. And should you want to interrupt it and put the signal on red and hold a train, you can. And this just saves the bird's nests of wires underneath your layout. In my case, I wasn't looking forward to running wires all over the place, as crawling around on my back is not so easy these days as I'm getting older. And I thought, albeit a dear option, it seemed the option for me. So I will steadily add these to the layout. Just saves a bit of work but costs more money. Do I think they're worth it? I suppose they are if you don't want to sort of interact with the signalling that much like I don't. So it suits me, but it may not suit everybody. I don't really want to be sitting here flicking switches. I'm not automating it via a computer, as I do like to be hands-on on my layout. So this is a bit of automation without involving a computer, and I do like it. Another little project I've been working on is putting some ambient sound into the station, just to provide this sort of background noise and add more realism really. And I've been trying to do it on the cheap. I've got an iPhone speaker that is 8 ohm, so it can be run just off the same as an earpiece, and it will just provide a very small amount of sound plugged into a sort of an earpiece socket. So like 3.5 jack into any sort of, I don't know, MP3 player, because that's what I'm using, an MP3 player. I years ago bought quite a lot of these sensors, and I used to use them at work to listen to on aeroplanes and stuff, and they hold quite a lot of memory, or they have a lot of memory, so you can put quite a lot of songs on it. But I don't use them no more, and the battery life on them is still fairly good, so I don't have to have them plugged into a charger. And what I've done is just wiped them and just put a few sound files, some sort of random sound files on there of ambient noise from around the station, or a station, and this provides quite a nice sort of feel to the running of the station. Basically, instead of headphones, I just 3.5-inch jack into this, a bit of a lead. I've made it so I can unplug it if I want to, so I can just put it underneath the station, and it provides quite a nice bit of sound if I switch it on, because it switched itself off. What I've also got is a bit of sleeving that you can sort of add over it, just to have, like a megaphone. You can amplify the sound by putting that over it. That improves it quite a bit. So it gives it like a little horn, like a real tannoy system. It just comes and goes, the sound I've got is just random. So I can go anywhere around the country recording whatever I want, modern day stuff or whatever, or find old sound files. I'm about to fit this in the station in a minute. So, somebody on their moped going past. So, just provides a good ambient sound, as I said. Move through the sound files. A lot of the time they're not very legible, you can't hear what they're saying that well, but that's what it used to be like. Announcements were very hard to actually understand in the 1980s due to the microphones and speakers they had. I thought this was just a good use of something what was redundant. I shall put this into the station right now, actually. Now where I'm going to stick it is just in here, so it'll be shouting out the entrance, and I'm just using a bit of dull side foam sticky pad really, and I'm going to make sure I aim it towards the door, but you won't be able to see it hopefully. So if I put it something like there, double-sided foam holding it in place. It's a bit untidy under here, I must admit, but all this don't get seen. And then carefully drop cable through the hole I've already drilled in the baseboard. And feed that through. very carefully put this back, tucking the wire over this side really. Stick it behind a bit of tape so it don't get noticed. Very carefully put this back. And the bottom unit is already plugged in, so just keep that wire to one side and drop this down. I seem to be getting away with moving my station around, which I have done. The only thing that seems to keep falling off are the pigeons. I've got a multitude of pigeons actually sitting in the top of this lift shaft waiting to be picked up and stuck back on, because every so often I knock one off. Not careful, I pour them out the top of the lift. Yeah, just need to plug the top section in. Can't get hold of the plug. Right. Carefully plug this back in. And try and lose the wire inside. As I put this bit back together. It won't go down unless I manage to get the wires inside the lift shaft. It's easier said than done, and you can't see what I'm talking about, mate. Right, I finally got it together. What it was, I've got inside there's a lift shaft like this, and the wires come out the bottom of the lift shaft and go into the next section, and you have to tuck the wires up the lift shaft, and if you don't they come out the side and then the whole section just sits on the wire and then don't sit flush. So I constantly poking the wires back up the lift shaft and they kept popping out. So it was really fiddly. Maybe not one of my best designs, but once it's together, and it does go together. It's just a bit more fiddly, and it's always a problem when you're filming it. Nothing ever goes right when you're filming. Anyway, it's all back together now, it's all lit up nicely, and the speaker's inside, and I'll just plug the speaker in. I just have it round here, the little sensor's just sitting here. I need to get hold of the wire, and I've got an extra length on it in case I want to move it somewhere else. So just tuck the wire out of the way for the moment and plug it in, switch it on, press play, and if I swing you around and move over a bit, we've got the station, hopefully with some sound in the background. I'll turn the light off, it'll look better. Well, I personally think that's a good use of a bit of junk that wasn't going to get used and wasted. And I just have to charge the battery up occasionally, like I said. But that can just keep going around and repeat. I'm continuing to add the odd one or two signals in sort of prominent places really. As I already mentioned, it's going to cost me an absolute fortune to put signals all over the layout, so it will be a very gradual process of me adding one or two here and there. Right, that's just about it for this one. It's probably not one of my best updates. It's a real bits and pieces one, but hopefully you enjoyed it. I will be back soon. Can't think of another project, but there's always these sort of experimental things you can do on your layout and sort of learn new sort of bits and pieces you can add. And I won't waffle on anymore. I'll leave you with the remainder of the video, which will be a bit more ambient sound on my station with a bit of train movement if you're lucky. Anyway, cheers for now, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Making a special stop for York. The train making a special stop for York will leave from platform number 3. The train making a special stop for York will leave from platform number 3. It will be going Grantham, York, Redford, Doncaster and York. The train making a special stop for York will leave from platform number 3. It will be going Grantham, York, Redford, Doncaster and York. The next train arriving at platform number 5 is from March, Bedford, Norwich, Brundle, Fleetwood, Macle and Greyhound.